The knock at dusk. The wind cut across the plains like a blade, carrying dust and the ghostly scent of rain. Clara Bennett kept her head down as she walked, clutching her coat tight around her frail frame. Her boots were split at the seams, soles thin as paper. Every step sank into the mud, and every breath scraped like dry glass in her chest. It had been 3 days since she'd eaten. The world had narrowed to one thought: food. She had stopped counting the miles. The prairie was endless, painted in gray and fading gold, and ahead of her, far beyond the broken fence line, a thin column of smoke twisted up into the winter sky. A cabin. For a moment, she thought it a mirage. Then, through the haze, the shape grew real: weathered wood, a slanted roof, and a faint light flickering in the window. She hesitated. Pride had carried her farther than she'd believed possible, but pride didn't fill an empty stomach. Her hand trembled as she climbed the short steps and lifted her knuckles to the door. The knock sounded too soft, barely more than a whisper against the storm. Inside, boots shifted. The door opened. Eli Ward filled the frame, tall, broad-shouldered, his face shadowed beneath the brim of a hat. His eyes, steady and unreadable, studied her with the quiet suspicion of a man used to solitude. The air smelled faintly of cedar smoke and stew. "We haven't eaten in 3 days," she said, voice cracking. "Please, I'll clean your cabin for food." He didn't move. The silence stretched long enough for her heart to stutter. Then, with a slow exhale, he stepped aside. "Come in." Warmth met her like an embrace. The cabin was small, single room, with stove, worn table. A dog lifted its head from the hearth, tail thumping once before settling again. "You're alone?" Eli asked, closing the door. Claire nodded. "Yes." The word was barely a whisper. He ladled soup into a tin bowl and set it before her without another word. The first spoonful nearly undid her. It wasn't just hunger. It was the sudden return of sensation, of being human again. She ate slowly, careful not to appear desperate, but he saw it anyway. His expression didn't soften, yet something in his gaze shifted. Curiosity, maybe pity, maybe both. When the bowl was empty, she folded her hands in her lap. "Thank you," she said. "I'll work to repay you. I can scrub, mend." "No need," he interrupted. "Eat first. Talk later." His tone was gruff, but not unkind. He poured himself coffee and sat across from her, the firelight drawing sharp lines across his face. He looked like a man carved from the land itself, steady, scarred, and half wild. She studied the calluses